Okay, the next one after the quote. But there was a cool Karl Marx quote if you want to go back to it. But just to kind of highlight the point of independence, if you want to claim to be a socialist party and all, right? Like, in a Karl Marx is one of the big figures in socialist thought. And a quote, I'm actually not sure what letter or book this comes from. We should double check that. I mean, I have it written down. I just didn't put it on the slide. But anyway, it says, workers must put up their own candidates in order to preserve their independence, to count their forces, and to bring before the public their revolutionary attitude and party standpoint. In this connection, they must not allow themselves to be seduced by such arguments of the Democrats as, for example, that by doing so they are splitting the Democratic Party and making it impossible for reactionaries to win. The ultimate intention of such phrases is to dupe the proletariat. So to kind of translate that, don't believe in the spoiler stuff, right? Like it's all about building an independent movement. They're capitalists that are going to complain no matter what we do. We have to do our socialist organizing and organize to win. And that recognizes the challenge and that this is a long-term struggle, not just any one particular election.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, the Green Party is a historical debate, right? Activism activism versus electoralism, and it's got to be both.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be both, right? Especially in our modern political culture, a huge amount of power is sequestered within electoralism, right? Like it or not, right? There's a lot of power there, and it's short of a massive revolution, which I don't think is I don't think a successful socialist revolution is in the short term, realm of possibility really for within the United States. So taking that into mind, we've got to be active in our communities and mutual aid and all that kind of stuff, right? We've got to be active on issues. We've got to be trying to pressure people, but we've also got to be putting people up for election to try to create more Gail McLaughlins, right?
Yeah,
more Jason Wests who can take these actions that will inspire more people and can start to cause not a top-down shift, right? The progressive Democrats seem to think that they're going to change things top down, right? By electing people to better people to Congress without acknowledging that Congress and Washington and U.S. political culture is rotten and corrupting, right? And we're seeing that corruption when we look at the actual votes and actions versus the words of progressives in Congress, right? So by running candidates for local office, we're trying to actually institute change bottom up, right? Inspire it rather than dictating it.
Exactly.
And so that's a huge thing that we have to kind of grapple with as socialists. And I will say too, one thing that's always bothered me about kind of the anti-electoralism left is basically where it leaves the working class. You're not going to get socialism till we have a revolution that overthrows capitalism, or you're not going to get healthcare until we have a revolution that overthrows capitalism. That's not a socialist perspective, in my opinion, right? Because it tells the working class you just got to die without healthcare until we can successfully overthrow the government, right? Whereas I think we need to try every avenue to get people health care because tens of millions of people don't have it. Tens of millions more people are underinsured, and people are literally dying, right? So to write it off and say not until the revolution is condemning those people to death and almost rubber stamping those deaths. So, it's got to be a both, not an either or. And this understanding really goes back to the origins of socialism with Marx.
Yep, definitely.